I guess how did y'all push through that? Really, like, is like I know that like music is sometimes an outlet for a lot of people, right? But when the music is really itself hard to get through and all that stuff, like what drove you to finish this and to get through it and to persevere, really? Because I think that that's the important word there is just perseverance.
I might say I'm a very like it's like a very thin line between like being just like very dedicated and obsessed with me.
Mm.
Usually things I start, they just like sometimes get a little bit out of hand, and I just can't let go. And I just exaggerate pretty much whatever I'm doing in my life, which sometimes is good, sometimes not so good. So giving up never has been an option, pretty much. But I don't know. There's I think like on the long run, I would have felt way more shitty if I would have given up instead of just pulling through and it's just like try to finish it. But I got to tell you, usually like we do everything very quick and easy, write songs pretty quick, record them quick and dirty. This time everything, like I said, went wrong, and it took so long. It was very tedious and no fun. I can honestly say, making this album, there was literally not a single second joy involved, which is great
Wow.
on the long run, because
Mm.
it's it's dark music for dark times. I think a lot of people need that.
Yeah, absolutely. Corey, please jump in here with a question.
Oh man, I have several, but let's go with the first one. You said that making this album wasn't particularly fun, it wasn't enjoyable, but do you think that translating these songs to the stage will bring you that joy and also bring you a catharsis for all of the shit you had to go through to make this album and to get it out the door?
Yeah, that might be the case, I guess. Like once we're on stage, we haven't played as a lot of band, especially in Europe. I live in the US for the last 7 years, but Irinj, the drummer, he is still in Germany. And we haven't played for 2+ years. And the first show we played was like 2 weeks ago at Northwest Terror Fest in Seattle, which was
Mm-hmm.
fantastic, by the way.
Mm.
Shout out. Unfortunately, Irinj, of course, immediately catch COVID, so we had to cancel all release shows here in Germany. Great. So it's like in the tradition of this album that everything goes wrong, we continue with that. And but being on stage just in general feels good, and you're right. Like singing those songs, playing those songs, it is a catharsis and probably some sort of relief, because it's just this is why we started this band, to go out there and play the songs, not to be in the studio for 2 freaking years.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing, John kind of like alluded to this a bit while we were, setting everything up, was that there's an interesting balance between your song structure appearing very fun, but once you look at the words and look at the lyrics, it is definitely not fun. How do you strike the balance of this dark lyrical content, this almost cursed album where everything is going wrong, but still maintain this structure that is quite fun to listen to?
I think, like, in it we have like a natural like advance, like us Germans being always grumpy and in a very bad mood and very pessimistic, which is awesome. uh and but also I grew up on classic rock. I really like catchy, hooky song structures. I've never been that guy who's interested in 11 minutes interesting post rock soundscapes or anything. I like efficient songwriting, German efficiency also, of course. I like to get straight to the point and make songs like easy in order to stuck to your head and stuff, and but yeah, I just like had a very dark period in my life, and I think there's no way around that, to just like write some lyrics about it. In general, you just have to turn on the TV or like read the news or whatever. I think like human stupidity in general is a never-ending source of inspiration, which is awesome. So there's a lot of albums in the pipeline, I guess.
I think that's the quote of the day. Human stupidity is a never-ending source of information. Put it out, put it on a T-shirt, man.
And inspiration, both.
Inspiration.
Yeah. What did I say?
You said information.
I
Oh,
like it
sorry. I meant
both.
it. Yeah, I meant inspiration. This Monday brains over here.
You've had too much coffee. It's
It's
you're,
bad.
you're
It's really
buzzing.
bad. You can tell. Hanno, you touched on something interestingly enough that I was going to ask you about a little bit later, but if you don't mind, Corey, I'd like to jump in now because you talked about how you just like good songs, right? Like, and that's what you try to do with this record is just make good songs. I'm curious, non-heavy music, heavy music, whatever. What are some of your like favorite go-to just songs when you're thinking about that is a well-written song, that is something that I can down with? What are your favorite songs? Doesn't have to be heavy music.
Well, in general, songwriting like always has been the biggest, the hardest currency when it comes to music for me in general. And as you said, it doesn't matter what the genre, what the style of music is. A good song is a good song is a good song eventually, and it doesn't matter what the genre is. But I always been team Boys Are Back in Town, Thin Lizzy, Ace of Spades,
Mm.
Sharp Dressed Man, ZZ Top, you name it. I always like the hit singles, and I'm not ashamed because for me that's like an art form for itself to just like write a catchy tune. And I always liked it, and it doesn't matter what kind of genre it is or what kind of music. And that's my beef I sometimes have with extreme metal. Of course, I like extreme music, all sorts of shapes and kinds. But sometimes people just, hey, we're super fast or we're super loud. Yeah, that's great, but where's the song? I sometimes miss the foundation of things a little bit in extreme metal in particular.
Yeah, and that's something that Corey and I talk about a lot in this
That is a
space over
gripe of
here.
mine where people just are technical for the sake of being technical.
Yeah.
And not only that, yeah, not only that, but just not, either afraid or don't want to admit, when a song is a good songwriter. I mean, I'm wearing a Dolly Parton T-shirt right now, right? I mean, she's wearing corpse paint and shit like that. But you want to talk about good songwriting, and it's right there. And I think that there's a lot to be learned. And you don't have to be like, oh no, I don't like Dolly Parton or Miley Cyrus or ABBA or like whatever it is, right? Because lots of good songs within all of those people.
I gotta say though that ABBA probably is the perfect example and might be one of the best bands ever existed in the universe. I really
I
mean
do love
that. Like
ABBA.
Gimme is a hell of a tune, man.
I,
Like,
I, I can't get enough of these records. It's just like it's a blueprint for good songwriting, and every song is a hit. I love it. But also a lot of old Motown stuff and funk music in general. And I'm
mm,
also a huge sucker for rap music, especially like early like 90s G funk and whatnot. I like that a whole lot. And when it comes to hard rock, yes, I have AC/DC tattoos all over my body. For me, it's my favorite band in the world. And I don't think I have to explain any of your listeners like how the profound quality of an ACDC riff, and
yeah.
that's always going to be, this where yeah, this is where I always end up. Like when it comes to good songs, it always usually ends up being spinning ACDC for the last 30 years of my life.
Hell yeah. Real quick, and then Corey, I'm going to throw it back to you as I like punch my microphone over here. I just want to know, Hannah, what do you think? What, like in hindsight, looking back at this horrible process that you went through, this no fun creation of this album that was cursed from the beginning. What do you think that it was the number one thing that you learned about yourself and your band going through and living through all of that?
It sounds a little cheesy, but I usually have a very strict, straight vision before I start everything, and I have the song titles before I even start writing the music or the lyrics. I
Mm,
sometimes even have the title of the record. I mean, in this particular case, "This Pain Is Forever" and "This Is the End" was more like a cynical working title, and once we were in the whole process, we realized, hey, maybe this is spot on, and we just kept the title. But that you just stick to, you gotta stick to your gut feeling. That's always pays off in the end. It's just like uh, try to block out as much outside inspiration whatsoever as possible, and just go with what you want to do. That this always helps for me, and let me
mm,
tell you, I was not 100% sure that this is going to be a great album, not at all. Like the songwriting process, I write the lyrics and the music, but I like a shit ton of times I called the drummer and was just like, dude, we're not going to go through with that everybody's going to hate it, it's horrible. Like, and he was like, no, trust your gut feeling, it's going to be good. And it's just like almost like some sort of imposter syndrome, so, oh, they're going
mm.
to find out we have nothing to offer. But on the other hand, I was 100% convinced that I did not want to do another record that sounds exactly like the previous three, because no one needs that. We're not a band making records out of a habit. A lot of bands do that, and I think a lot of bands should ask themselves the question: do we have something to say, something to give, to contribute in a way? And they're just doing records, a lot of bands, out of a habit, and they all sound the same. And there's of course people who don't like a new style or whatever of a band, but for me as a musician, and we both had a handshake agreement: if this record would not have turned out to be good, we would have immediately quit the band, because we're like old Vikings. If we can't fight no more, we go to the forest and hang ourselves. There's no reason for us.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's an amazing point. And also, like, it goes to a thing, right? Like, especially those, all of us went through isolation and things like that. But even in the creative process, when you're looking at the same thing over and over and over again, you start to notice all the flaws, and you start to, you said imposter syndrome, or double think, or go against what you're seeing. And then when somebody else sees it, they're like, no, we don't see any of that because of this, that, or the other. You get a little bit too close to it, and you need to, I guess, have someone else kind of come in and, tell you, no, follow exactly what you're doing. And I'm glad that you guys did, because like we said, like, this record is a hell of a blast from start to finish. Like, it is, like, it does have the sound that you guys have been cultivating through your career, but you're right, it does sound a little bit different. And like, even I feel like even a more little like upbeat, I don't know if that's the right word I'm looking for, Corey, but like, I don't know, there's just like a drivingness to it that you listen to them, and like, you see the album titles or the song titles, and you look at the things, you're like, well, I still want to fucking like dance and bang my head to all of this stuff. Like, that's cool to me.
Well, that's what I wanted to do. Of course, in the DNA of the band hasn't changed. Haven't changed. It's just we're still the same band. But I think you got a point there. We like, being catchy for me is a good thing, and it has these classic rock vibes. We just with this record, it has not been for us to be heavy. It was more about being intense, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a different kind of heavy.
Yeah, well, it's just like, like, as I said, I think this is also why the album is white. It's so easy to have a black album, like black artwork with inverted crosses and stuff like that, but nothing makes me feel as uncomfortable as white. It's just like doctors, cocaine, what have you. It's just like white is it's uncomfortable. And so we dared to do things that we wanted to step out of our own comfort zone, and made the listeners, and also the Mantar fans who are already familiar with the band, step out of the comfort zone, and then you can create something new and something good. And I hope we achieved that.
Yeah, for sure. And that's actually, you've answered the question that I did have, and started answering the question that I have now. I know that in previous interviews that you've done, you've described yourself as a live band and really enjoying playing live. But you weren't able to do that for a very long time. And do you feel like you were able to get more creative with your visuals and more creative with your videos and things like that in the absence of playing live?
Yeah, absolutely. And I also realized I don't like playing live anymore. Just don't get me wrong, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I was not like all my friends. I have like these real road warriors in my circle of friends. They're just like, oh, I gotta be on tour 200 days a year or whatnot. I realized I'm pretty happy being at home. I have a wonderful wife. I have a great dog and a pet squirrel. And
you have a pet squirrel? I'm sorry, I just got distracted there. That's awesome.
Squirrel!
Squirrel!
You literally did squirrel.
Her name is Shippy, and she's awesome, and I miss her a lot. And because I'm here in Europe right now, so and I live in Florida. Anyways, I realized I'm good with just playing a few shows a year, I guess, and because I put a lot of effort in the video clips, and I put a lot of effort in the artwork and the songwriting. I don't need to be on the road like 200 days a year or anything. But of course, don't get me wrong. Of course, I like the ritual, this cathartic moment of playing live. It's awesome. It's pretty much the best thing about being in a band. But I realized I don't necessarily need that to identify myself as a musician.
Understandable.
If that makes any sense.
That totally makes sense. Sorry, I'm still kind of distracted by the squirrel.
No, that's fine. I wish I had her here right now, but yeah, she's back at home.
We'll have to have you back on the show for like a special squirrel edition of the show.
But like real quick though, how did the pet squirrel come about? Like, did you rescue her from outdoors or?
Yeah, she fell off a tree, and she was like thumb sized. She had her eyes closed for several weeks, and the dog played with it, you know. And then the dog lost interest, and it was still alive. And when we nurtured it with like little baby formula and stuff like that, massaged its little belly, and my wife told me all the time, it's not going to survive. She's a biologist, you know. She's not going to survive. But like I said, when I set my vision, it usually works out. And now, and I recently learned a pet squirrel, when they live in a house with people, they grow up to be like 20 years old and shit. So we're gonna have it a long time.
Holy shit!
Yeah. Well, it is what it is.
There you go. So Cori, I think you might have to change your last question into like, what is your favorite rodent or something like that. I don't know.
No, I'm keeping my question. It's tradition.
It is. My last question, it can be a quick one because there's no real right answer to it. Just what do you want when people listen to this album after everything you went through and all that stuff, whether they're coming on to Mantar for the first time or whether they've been fans for years? What do you want them to take away from the album?
Honestly, it might sound a little bit lame, but I'm an old-fashioned entertainer. I make music in order to entertain people, so I think there's nothing wrong with just that people who listen to it have a good time. That's what I do it for. Of course, in the darkest way, and it's sinister and black, but I create music to entertain people. So I hope people enjoy it and you know, can get distracted from the shit that's happening around them 24/7. So yeah, that's what I hope.
Beautiful. Well, it's entertaining as fuck. Cori, I will let you do your last question.
All right, my last question, which is the important one of the interview. It's a stressful one. It's one people have a hard time answering.
Ooh,
what is your favorite dinosaur?
Oh, I'd say the Diplodocus.
That is a good one.
Yeah. I also like the flying ones and stuff like that because they're just so grim and just pure evil. That's also cool. But the Diplodocus is a very efficient, old-fashioned dinosaur.
I have a technicolored one right here.
Oh, sweet. There you go. Yeah, Diplodocus, I go for that one.
Awesome. I think you might be the first person to answer that with the actual scientific name. Everyone's like, you know, the one with the long neck, that one.
Barney Greenway actually got the right scientific name
that
too.
Doesn't surprise me at all, so, like, in any way.
Yes, you have the same favorite dinosaur as Barney.
Oh, do I? Well, thank you very much. So we can all form like a dinosaur club now.
Yes, exactly. I support this.
Good.
Oh, man. Hanno, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today.
Of course.
Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having
I'm really
me.
glad that you guys were able to persevere and put out the album. It's been getting a lot of love in the chat. Mazza, if you have a link to it in there, put it in so people can pick it up. And next time that you guys are around, my friend, we will have you back on.
That will be fantastic. Thank you so much for your interest in the band, for all your love and the nice things you said, and your time and your lovely questions. That was been a pleasure, and I hope to see you next time around.
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys make it to the States at some time, Cori and I will be there with bells on, and otherwise,
we will.
Have fun playing live, and just enjoy this time out from like the creative shackles that you guys have been under.
We will. No worries, man.